You know, when we try to understand a country, we usually look at trends over years, maybe even decades. But what if we did something a little different? What if we just froze time and looked at a single 24-hour snapshot of a nation? Today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're diving into the headlines of just one day to see what they can tell us about India.
So that's the big question, right? What can one day really show us about a country with over 1 billion people? Well, we're going to treat it like a puzzle. We'll take pieces from international relations, the economy, sports, and see if we can put them together to create a picture, a snapshot of India on the move. Let's see what we find.
First up, let's look at how India is showing up on the world stage. And what's really interesting is that on this one day, we're seeing two very different but equally important kinds of engagement. One is about hard power and security, and the other is about tackling the big, shared challenges we all face for the future.
All right, so first, a huge development in global security. India and the United States just signed off on a major long-term defense agreement. This isn't just a small step, it's a really clear signal that their strategic partnership is getting deeper.
And when you dig into the details, you see just how significant this is. We're talking about a 10-year framework for defense and security cooperation. It was signed in Kuala Lumpur, and the stated goal is pretty clear: to strengthen peace and stability across the Indo-Pacific. This basically sets the tone for their strategic relationship for the next decade.
So that's the big strategic power play. But you know, a country's role in the world isn't just about defense treaties. It's also about showing up and helping to solve the really tough problems that affect all of us, everywhere.
And on that very same day, we see another kind of global partnership in action with World Cities Day. This is a UN initiative that's all about making our cities better places to live as they grow. And check out the theme for 2025, People-Centered Smart Cities. For a country like India, which is planning for massive urban growth, this conversation is absolutely crucial.
Okay, let's pivot from the global scene and look inward at the country's economic engine. And the big story of the day here is investment. We're talking massive, game-changing investments aimed at building a more technologically advanced and self-reliant India.
Just take a second to look at that number, 1 lakh crore rupees. That is a huge amount of money, and it's all going into a new fund called Anusandhan, designed to pour fuel on the fire of deep tech startups. Think AI, biotech, new materials, the real foundational technologies of the future. This is a massive bet on India's own innovators.
And it's not just about bits and bytes. At the very same time, you've got almost 40,000 crore rupees in deals being signed to upgrade infrastructure at the Visakhapatnam port. So you see this two-track approach, investing in the digital future while also strengthening the physical backbone, the ports and supply chains that the economy runs on.
So, what's the big idea driving all this spending? Well, this quote from the Commerce and Industry Minister, Piyush Goyal, really spells it out. The goal is technological self-reliance, rooted in the spirit of Swadeshi, or self-sufficiency. It's a clear vision: build it here, own it here, and reduce dependence on foreign technology, from the tiniest microchip to the biggest shipping port.
And this powerful idea, this push for tech and self-reliance, isn't just for big, shiny industrial projects. It's also making its way into one of the oldest and most important parts of the Indian economy: farming. The Smart Crop Project is a fantastic example. The mission here is to empower small-scale farmers, the ones with just a little bit of land. And how are they doing it? By using the same kind of deep tech we were just talking about. We're talking satellite imaging, AI, and machine learning, all to help make farming more resilient to climate change. It's just an amazing fusion of cutting-edge tech solving real grassroots problems.
All right, let's shift gears, because a nation's story isn't just about policy and money, right? It's also about those moments of shared pride, of individual genius, and pure celebration. And on this particular day, India had a lot to cheer about, from the cricket pitch to the chessboard.
First, just an unbelievable result in the Women's ODI World Cup semifinal. Australia sets this monster target of 338, but the Indian team, they just went out there and pulled off a historic win. And get this, it wasn't just a victory, it was the highest successful run chase in the entire history of women's cricket. Just an absolutely epic, record-shattering performance.
Okay, so we go from the roar of the cricket stadium to the quiet, intense focus of the 64 squares of a chessboard. And to really get our next story, here's a quick Chess 101. The title of Grandmaster, or GM, is the absolute top, the pinnacle of the sport. Right below that, you have the International Master, or IM title, which is still an incredibly prestigious achievement.
And on this day, Namidbir Singh Walia from Punjab earned that very title of International Master. It's a massive moment for him personally, of course, but it's also a huge deal for his home state. He's only the second player from Punjab ever to achieve this honor. What a star.
All right, for our final piece of the puzzle today, let's look at something that's less about headlines and more about the foundation of the country, its core institutions. Because a story from India's judicial system on this day really speaks to the kind of stability and order that every nation needs to thrive.
So what we have is an official announcement about the leadership transition at the Supreme Court. On November 23rd, the term of the 52nd Chief Justice ends, and then the very next day, the 53rd Chief Justice, Justice Surya Kant, will take office. It's this quiet, predictable, orderly handover that really highlights the strength and continuity of one of the nation's most important institutions. No drama, just process.
So let's step back and look at the whole picture we've built. In just one day's news, we've seen India forging a critical long-term security partnership. We've seen it pouring incredible sums of money into a self-reliant, tech-driven future. We've seen it celebrate a historic, pride-fueling victory in sports. And we've seen the quiet, steady strength of its core institutions.
You see how all these different threads, strategy, economy, culture, law, are all weaving together the story of modern India. The headlines from this single day give us a really compelling snapshot of where the country is right now. The only question left is, what story will all of this write for tomorrow? Thanks for joining me.